The Revocable Living Trust is by far the most popular trust document that there is. You may have heard of it as a Revocable Living Trust, a Revocable Trust, a Living Trust. Those are usually the three different names that they're given. The idea, the number one reason that people have this Revocable Living Trust is to avoid probate. But today I want to talk about the number one reason why your Revocable Living Trust is not going to help you avoid probate. So let's get into it. All right, number one reason why your Revocable Living Trust is not going to help you avoid probate is, before we answer that question, let's understand what probate actually does, or what it is, what the process is. So when a person passes away, any assets in their individual name, assets titled in their individual name, have to go through the probate process of the local district court, overseen by the probate judge of that court. In that process, you have to inventory assets, submit paperwork, get valuations of assets, make distributions to heirs. You have to pay off any outstanding creditors. On average, it lasts 1 to 2 years. I've met clients who've gone through 4 years of probate, 5 years of probate, even had a client who was working on year 10 of probate in another jurisdiction for their father. So it can be very lengthy, it can be tumultuous, it can be complicated. And so usually clients will hire an attorney to represent them through that process, to prepare the paperwork, tax returns that are required, etc. Okay. So often people have a Revocable Living Trust, and the number one reason, as I said, is to avoid probate. So rather than having assets titled in your individual name, you title your assets in the name of the trust, okay? That helps you avoid probate. It's simply a matter of changing the nature of legal ownership from you as an individual to your trust. Now, the number one reason that your Revocable Living Trust is not going to help you avoid probate is your Revocable Living Trust was never funded with assets, or some assets didn't get funded into the trust. It's as simple as that. But let's talk about the reason this happens. Often clients don't realize it's their responsibility to make sure that their personal residence, their cash accounts, their vehicles, their brokerage accounts, whatever it may be, are getting retitled in the name of the trust, or assigned to the name of the trust, or even the tangible personal property. So think about things like furniture, jewelry, artwork, electronic equipment, athletic equipment, whatever it may be. Basically anything you can pick up that you might find in your house. Those assets are not getting assigned to the trust, and therefore likely going to have to go through the probate process. Clients don't realize this because often attorneys don't tell them, and often the client thinks that as soon as they execute the document, they're good to go. They're going to avoid probate, but the attorney may not tell them that they have to go through this funding process or this implementation process. Or, maybe there's just some negligence on the attorney's end, or even the client's end. It could be both. The other thing that I run into a lot is kind of a mentality among attorneys. And I see this often in Texas. I've seen it in other jurisdictions. In Texas, the will still has to be probated. Even if you have a Revocable Living Trust that's funded with assets, the will still has to be submitted to the probate judge. And because of that, some attorneys say, well, hey, I got to submit this anyway. It's not that big of a deal if they go through probate, so we're not going to put assets in the name of the Revocable Living Trust. A lot of clients don't realize that's what the attorney's approach is. They think, oh, I have this trust, I'm avoiding probate. But the attorney has a different mentality. So you want to make sure that you understand what your attorney's perception of probate is, what their philosophy of probate is, and whether or not they're helping you with this implementation process, or if the will still needs to be probated. So ask a lot of questions about this, understand whose responsibility it is to make sure that those assets are getting funded in the trust. And just know that because you have the trust doesn't mean that you automatically avoid probate. Those assets have to be retitled. Otherwise, you're running into this number one problem that your Revocable Living Trust is not going to help you avoid probate.